my inner everyone gets a trophy millennial talking. Society has done everything in its power to complicate our lives. Busyness is a status symbol likened to wealth. Wealth is more important than ever because you have to look your best, be your best, all the time. There's a product, pill, or procedure to fix any problem you might encounter. We want more out of our lives, and we want it now because we deserve it. Mr. Rogers, that dear old man, once said, "Our society is much more interested in information than wonder, in noise rather than silence." I believe the Grinch highlights this best when he says, "Oh, the noise, 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 noise." Am I allowed to fuse quotes from Mr. Rogers and the Grinch like that? What I'm trying to say is the journey to living a more holistic, crunchy life is often a journey to simplicity. As with any lifestyle, there are people who will try to sell you things and claim you need this or that if you want to be healthy. In reality, it's best to break the crunchy lifestyle down to KISS, K-I-S. I'll leave out the stupid for you because that's what friends do. What are the basic needs for survival, and how can you make the best choices to meet those needs? It was in my middle school social studies class, with Mrs. Quatermass subbing, that I learned about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You've likely seen this visual before. A pyramid with physiological needs at the bottom, then safety and security, moving up to love and belonging, then to self-esteem, all topped by self-actualization. Physiological needs are the ones for basic survival, a good place to start if you're looking to make changes toward living a more holistic life. This pyramid is not to be confused with the food pyramid that we were taught growing up, which was terribly flawed and messed up a lot of people's views on food, but we can touch on that later. Your physiological needs include, but are not limited to, the following: air, water, food, clothing, shelter, and sleep. How can you make changes in each of these areas to remove toxins that may negatively impact your health and wellness? We'll discuss some options throughout the remainder of this chapter and the next. First, I want to acknowledge that having access to these things is an incredible blessing and a privilege that is not lost on me. I have had struggles in my life, but not once have I worried where my next meal would come from. Even when my husband and I were below the poverty level, we always had food available. I want to be sensitive to all walks of life. So before we dive into the ways you can make your physiological needs crunchier, let me say this. You know your limits, and no one else can define them for you. Crunchiness is a spectrum, and it won't look the same for everyone. There is no single best way. Do what's best for you. 1. Air. Is air really just air? Dioxins, benzene, vinyl chloride, cadmium, and lead make up some of the 188 hazardous air pollutants that can be found in our air. From coughing to cancer to congenital disabilities, polluted air can have myriad adverse effects on our health. Would this even be a crunchy book if I didn't include a quote by John Muir, Ralph Waldo Emerson, or Henry David Thoreau? For the purposes of this chapter, I'm going with Emerson's "Live in the sunshine, swim the sea, drink the wild air's salubrity." But I cannot guarantee the nature-driven, thought-provoking quotes will end here. You can blame the 1990s for me living my life through the lens of an epic motivational poster. According to the EPA, air within homes and other buildings can be more seriously polluted than the outdoor air in even the largest and most industrialized cities. The risks to health may be greater due to exposure to air pollution indoors than outdoors. On average, Americans spend 90% of their time indoors. How many of those 188 hazardous pollutants are in your home? It is nearly impossible to test for every toxin, but I do know that if you want to breathe cleaner air, you need to get outside. Listen to Emerson and drink the wild air. I'll never forget the January day a newspaper reporter sheepishly approached my son and me as we played on the playground of a local park. "Mind if I take your picture for the paper?" My husband had previously been a reporter, so I knew this meant it must have been a slow news cycle, but it still tickled me that a toddler playing outside in the cold was newsworthy. To make it even funnier, his picture made the front page. I know being outside may not always be practical, unless you're Scandinavian and have it all figured out. But there are a few things you can do to clear the air inside. The cheapest and easiest option is to open the windows. Opening your windows allows indoor pollutants to escape. Obviously, there are caveats like if you live in a highly polluted area with lots of traffic or near a factory, in which case you should open your windows for just 15 minutes during a low traffic time. But letting in fresh air can only do so much. Sometimes you have to make changes from within. Were you ever broken up with in high school? You knew what was about to happen. You saw the warning signs. You stood face to face, the awkwardness so thick in the air that it became hard to breathe. Your heart started racing. Heaven forbid you were wearing an antiperspirant. Aluminums! But if you were, it kicked in, hopefully. You tried to brace yourself as you waited for the harsh truth. The two of you weren't meant to be. This may very well be the hardest part of your crunchy journey, but it's time for a breakup. It's time for you to break up with fragrances. Fragrances are everywhere. Why do we need our trash cans to smell like fresh linen? Is it really necessary for your toilet paper to smell like chamomile? An average person is confronted with hundreds of fragrances every day. The word fragrance on a product covers dozens, sometimes hundreds of chemicals that make up that fragrance. That little word is on shampoo, lotion, soap, makeup, serums, deodorant, dish soap, laundry detergent, dryer sheets, cleaners, to name a few. And then there are the items with the sole purpose of adding more fragrance into the world. Perfume, room sprays, air fresheners, candles. Scented goods drastically add to indoor air pollution. We are talking about thousands of chemicals, some of which contain phthalates, some of which are endocrine disruptors, which can cause reproductive and developmental toxicity, respiratory issues such as asthma, or even cancer. Yes, some fragrances contain carcinogens, which are compounds known to cause cancer, and companies don't have to disclose which toxic concoction they are using as long as they add the word fragrance to a list of ingredients. All these risks because we like the smell. Cashmere woods are not a real thing. Woods smell like dirt and moss. Hawaii doesn't smell like the marketed Hawaiian breeze. It probably smells like sweaty tourists. And crisp waters, in reality, smell a little bit like fish. I know, it's a harsh reality. Once you're done sobbing, come back to me and I'll help you feel a little better. First, you need to know you have been lied to. Cleanliness is not determined by the smell of something. Fragrances don't improve a product's performance. Trash bags that have no scent are just as good at holding trash. Just get a trash can with a lid and you won't even notice. And dish soap that is fragrance-free is still able to wash your dishes. Your home can still be clean even if it doesn't smell like fresh lemon zest or a pine forest. If you do only one thing to step into the crunchyverse, I'd implore you to give up fragrances. This can seem daunting if everything in your house contains fragrances. I'm not a health expert. I'm a mom on a mission to provide the healthiest home for my family, and what I'm about to say may be odd to the hardcore crunchies out there. But here it is. If you don't have the means to throw away everything and start fresh, don't. Everything, crunchy or not, is so expensive, and it's not worth putting a financial strain on your family. That is, unless you're experiencing respiratory symptoms, then maybe go ahead and ditch all the fragrance things. However, if you're looking to make switches for long-term health impacts, the next time you go to buy something, look for the most natural version of that product. You can always check out the reels of your favorite Instagram influencers if you need an idea for a product swap. I'll list some of my favorite social media accounts and other resources in the resources section found in the enhancement. If you can't bear the thought of life without smells, consider swapping to the natural version of your favorite smells. Love the smell of lavender? Hang up bundles of dried lavender, or even make sachets and stick them around your house. Put fresh herbs next to your door so they're the first thing you smell when you walk in. Burn beeswax candles for a warm honey smell. The scent of pine needles simmering in a pot of water on the stove beats the smell of pine sol any day. You don't have to live scent-free to live added fragrance-free. If you do make the fragrance switch, and especially if you do it all at once, be aware that it may be difficult for you to smell the natural scents. Scented candles, toilet sprays, dish soaps, all of them are more intense than the natural versions they claim to emulate. So at first, you may not notice your beeswax candles are giving off a smell. But give it time. The longer you are away from artificial fragrances, the more your sense of smell will acclimate to the versions nature has provided. In the reverse, and especially in my experience, artificial scents become way too harsh on the nose. If I get too much of a whiff, an artificial scent can give me a headache. For some reason, this has been especially true with laundry detergents and perfumes. We have all come across the old lady who forgot how many pumps of perfume she sprayed, so she pumped just a few more. Imagine walking into that cloud after you've given up all fragrances. That sensitivity may seem like a downside at first, but then you think about having that fake scent all around you or even on you all the time, wearing it, sleeping in it, constantly breathing in these thousands of lab-created chemicals meant to fake a smell found in nature, and the trade-off doesn't seem so bad. I've also had great success by typing into a search engine, non-toxic swap for blank. There are countless trusted, reliable sources that can help educate you about the products you're using and how they might impact your air quality and your health. The best way to educate yourself is to start reading and questioning labels. Companies are allowed to sell phthalates and carcinogens, so it's up to you to wade through the noise. In the fashion of capitalizing on opportunities, companies can make their products look healthier in an effort to trick people who want to switch to more natural products. This is called greenwashing. Just because something says plant-based, made with essential oils, or all natural doesn't make it healthy. One tiny healthy or green part of their product does not outweigh all the harmful aspects. Greenwashing is misleading and unethical, and if a company is intentionally misrepresenting their product, it's probably not a good product to be using. You don't have to invest in fancy cleaning systems. You can keep your home clean using vinegar, baking soda, and Bon Ami. That's all you need, and you can buy all three for under $5 each. Think about how your great-grandmother cared for her home. You don't need a bunch of ritzy, glitzy stuff to get the job done. Remember KISS. Simplicity is often the crunchiest option available. Aside from ditching fragrances and opening your windows, other ways to keep your air clean include vacuuming regularly, minimizing indoor pets, please don't hate me, running an air purifier, and having your air ducts cleaned. The size of your home, its age and architectural style, and the materials used to build your house also influence air quality, as well as the home's overall crunch factor. One of the biggest things to be aware of in your home's makeup is mold. Whatever you do, try to avoid living in a home that has mold. Mold can cause a ton of awful health issues, including allergies and asthma. Some things to look out for are visible mold spores, a musty or damp smell, and areas of water damage like squishy floors or wavy walls. If you're having what seems like a seasonal allergy that never seems to go away, that could be a sign of mold. If you suspect a mold problem in your house, the best thing to do is have it inspected by a professional, as they know what to look for and where to look. They can also tell you if it is spreading and the best ways to try to prevent it, which almost always includes keeping moisture-prone areas of your home dry, since mold thrives with moisture. Mold isn't only lurking behind walls. Sometimes we don't even know we're being exposed to mold or harmful mycotoxins, a mold byproduct. Sometimes it's hiding in our food. Raisins and other dried fruits, grape juice, peanut butter, and even coffee are often riddled with mycotoxins. As a crunchy mama, I want to use as many natural products in my home as possible. Sometimes I'm tempted to take the quick and easy route, but the crunchy way generally isn't the easiest or most convenient. I was especially tempted when we bought our current home. Our house was a for sale by owner, very outdated diamond in the rough that was built in 1981. The kitchen had parquet wood carpet. Yes, carpet made to look like wood. In the kitchen. We have slowly made updates when we've been able to afford them. A piece of trim is still missing above the refrigerator from our DIY kitchen renovation a couple years ago. Our bathroom still features a pea soup green sink with a coordinating shower. The first thing I did when we moved in was replace the pea soup green toilet because I can live with a lot, but I draw the line there. Along with the faux parquet floors, our kitchen had to be gutted because, and I can't believe I'm telling you this, it was infested with roaches. Every time we viewed our home before buying, the seller insisted on being there. This should have been a tip-off that something wasn't right, but we figured since it was for sale by owner, he hung around to unlock and lock the place. In reality, he must have gone in and banged all the cabinets to warn the roaches of our coming before we did our inspection. When we moved in, we cleaned everything thoroughly and didn't notice traces of pests, but it was dark in there and hard to tell if the cabinets were just a little crusty.